Speaking of stories, there were three stories that came out yesterday involving the Russia investigation and Trump. And I want to take a look at them. Each one of these stories was a bombshell. It was like the war of the bombshells. But two of them we can be pretty certain are true. One of them we have to examine. And I'm not sure. I have no way of knowing whether it's true yet or not. But it's pretty interesting. And I do think I know why it's being told right now. The first story coming from Kim Strassel, great reporter at the Wall Street Journal. She has been on top of this story from the beginning and doing the best reporting, I think, about it. And this is testimony from Bruce Orr. Remember Bruce Orr? He was the guy who brought the Steele dossier, the dossier about the prostitutes that was, Russian basically disinformation about Donald Trump that had been paid for by the Clinton campaign, the Hillary Clinton campaign, right? And Bruce Orr was the Justice Department official whose wife worked for the company that got this dossier and who brought the dossier to the FBI. The thing is, we now have, Kimberly Strassel now has his testimony saying that he told everybody of importance that this was Oppo research by Hillary Clinton and was not necessarily to be trusted and that it was unconfirmed. Or testified that he sat down with dossier author Christopher Steele on July 30th, 2016, and received this salacious information the opposition research had compiled. Mr. Orr immediately took that to the FBI's then Deputy Director, Andy McCabe, now fired, lawyer Lisa Page, now disgraced. In August, he took it to Peter Strzok, now also disgraced, the Bureau's lead investigator. In the same month, Mr. Orr believes he briefed senior personnel in the Justice Department Criminal Division. Okay, and he told them what this was. Mr. Orr told this team the information came from the Clinton camp, and he warned them that it was likely biased and certainly unproven. When I provided the Steele information to the FBI, I tried to be clear that this is source information. I don't know how reliable it is, okay? Now, the thing is, this proves, this is further evidence, A, that the FBI misled the FISA court when they started to spy on the Trump campaign. They did not tell them that this was Oppo research and unreliable. They didn't tell them that. And it also shows that the FBI and the Justice Department, still going off Strassel's article, they've gone to extraordinary lengths to muddy the details, as well as Adam Schiff, the congressman, who I think is like this Joe McCarthy thing, never met an anti-Trump story he didn't try to sell to the media, which of course always willingly buy it. And they insisted that the FBI's closely held investigative team only received Steele's reporting in mid-September. And the reason this is important, they obviously received it earlier. And the reason this is important is they're trying to claim that this was not what got them to start the investigation, to start spying on the Trump campaign, but it obviously was. The second story is from George Papadopoulos. It's possible. They claim that George Papadopoulos made some remarks that caused them to start this investigation. That's possible, but this makes that very suspicious. Now, that's the second story. George Papadopoulos, who has pleaded guilty to lying to federal agents, he says he knew there was a spy in President Trump's 2016 campaign, and he has identified that spy to congressional investigators. They haven't released the name of the spy, but he said, Papadopoulos said, I have my suspicions about person A, perhaps working on behalf of U.S. intelligence. Papadopoulos says that the FBI asked them to wear a wire into the Trump campaign. They were going to wire and spy on a presidential campaign. I mean, this is appalling stuff, okay? It is really clear to me, I've said this before, but this is more information, that this is the truth, that the FBI lost its stuff, okay? The FBI saw Trump barreling down the road and they tried to stop him. And once he was in office, they tried to overturn the results of an election. They decided that they were part of the checks and balances system, which they are not. Why? Because they have police investigative powers and they are not elected. It is none of their business. It is not, they said, we didn't like his foreign policy with Russia, basically. We thought his foreign policy with Russia was suspicious, so we started an investigation. That is very, very disturbing. It really is. This is a tremendous scandal. And the press, on top of that, is the scandal that the press has run interference for them and defended them in these decisions, which, if they had been done against a Democrat, and certainly if they had been done against Barack Obama, would have been on the front page every day as a major scandal. The New York Times, a former newspaper, would have been running banner headlines about it. Now, the reason these two stories are important is because BuzzFeed came out with another story that is also a bombshell. This is the story that Michael Cohen claims that President Trump directed Michael Cohen to lie during congressional testimony over discussions between the Trump Organization and Russian authorities about a Trump Tower Moscow project. Now, this is important because it would be suborning perjury, which was what Bill Clinton did when he told Monica Lewinsky to lie under oath. He was suborning perjury. That was one of the reasons that they wanted to impeach him. It wasn't the sex, it was the lying. William Barr is currently being vetted by the Senate for the role of Attorney General, and they're asking him all these questions about would he fire Mueller if Trump asked him to, and all these things. And Barr, who's a highly qualified candidate, has been basically saying he will be an honest upholder of the law. This is as opposed to Eric Holder or Loretta Lynch, who were the wingmen, as Eric Holder put it, of Barack Obama, and would never have denied an order from him and covered up for him and buried everything for him and basically stonewalled Congress for him. But William Barr, they're asking him, will he do that for Trump? And he's saying no. And Senator Amy Klobuchar asked him these questions about a situation like the one that BuzzFeed is describing.
The president persuading a person to commit perjury would be obstruction. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Or any person who persuades another to, yeah.
Okay. You also said that a president or any person convincing a witness to change testimony would be obstruction. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And on page 2, you said that a president deliberately impairing the integrity or availability of evidence would be an obstruction. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so what if a president told a witness not to cooperate with an investigation or hinted at a pardon?
You know, I'd have to know the specific. I'd have to know the specific facts.
Okay. And you wrote on page 1 that if a president knowingly destroys or alters evidence, that would be obstruction.
Yes.
Okay. So what if a president drafted a misleading statement to conceal the purpose of a meeting? Would that be obstruction?
Again, you know, I'd have to know the specifics.
So it's a big story. I mean, if it's true, it's a big story. And of course, you can guess, I don't have to tell you, which of these three stories that I just told you the news media has been pounding on all day yesterday and will, I'm sure, continue to pound on. But the question is it true? It comes from BuzzFeed, which is, you know, largely a garbage site, but it is written by two reporters. One is named James Leopold, and the other is named Anthony Cormier, I guess it is, Cormier. So Alison Camerota on CNN had Cormier on by phone, and she asked him if he had seen the evidence. He had talked to he says he has two federal investigators who acted as unnamed sources and told them this. And she asked, have you seen the evidence? This is cut number 1.
You have two law enforcement sources who tell you that they have seen evidence, texts, emails, a cache of other documents, maybe transcripts with other witnesses in Trump Organization that Donald Trump pressured Michael Cohen to lie. He suborned perjury. Have you seen any of that other corroborating evidence?
No, I've not seen it personally, but the folks that we've talked to, the two officials that we've spoken to, are fully 100% read in to that aspect of the special counsel's investigation.
Now, a lot of Trump supporters, a lot of Trump defenders immediately said, oh, they haven't seen the evidence. That's not necessarily a flaw in a story. A lot of reporters get information on the phone. They have trusted sources. They read them documents. Kimberly Strassel had documents read to her. You know, it's a question of whether the reporters are any good. Here's the thing, though. His co-author says he did see it. He actually contradicts this. This is cut number 10.
A year we've reported pretty extensively on the Trump Moscow project, and we have been I'll just say that we've seen documents, we've been briefed on documents. We're very confident in our reporting.
That's what I'm sort of trying to get to here, Jason. The idea, because one thing we keep saying is, listen, if this is true, this has some serious implications, but you can't ignore the if this is true part.
Right. I completely understand that.
Now, he completely understands, but the problem is the guy is a bad reporter. He has been called out several times on stories. He came under scrutiny for faulty reporting for Salon in 2002. That led to an article being removed. In 2006, he reported that Karl Rove had been indicted, which he hadn't. He has been called out a number of times for saying he had sources that he didn't have. So Cormier was asked about this, actually. Good for Alison Camerota. She actually asked him about this, and here's his response.
Your co-writer, Jason Leopold, has a dubious past with this. He's gotten in trouble, as you well know, in 2002 and 2006. He was in trouble for perhaps claiming to have sources that he didn't really have. His stories didn't wash. Executive directors and editors have had to apologize after some of his big blockbuster stories. So how can you be certain today?
I am rock solid. My sourcing on this goes beyond the two that are on the record. This 100% happened. I am the individual who confirmed and verified that it happened. I am telling you that our sourcing goes beyond the two that I was able to put on the record. We were able to gather information from individuals who know that this happened. This is a thing that it happened.
So, you know, we don't know. I don't know whether the story is true. I don't know if the story is true, if it means that Donald Trump did what they say he did. I don't, you know, in other words, if Michael Cohen is saying it, he hasn't been a very reliable guy. He's obviously trying to stay out of prison. He's cooperating, but he may be cooperating too much. Here is what I do think. The FBI screwed up royally. They really did. And it's not, of course, the agents who are doing the good work that they always do. They do have so many great agents. It was the leadership put in place by Barack Obama that basically saw an outsider coming down the pike and went after him like the most paranoid version of a deep state in the most paranoid conservative's mind. The FBI actually behaved in keeping with that paranoid version. They actually did that. And now they are leaking information to the press, because after all, why were they leaking this to BuzzFeed? They're leaking information to a friendly press, trying to make it sound like their outrageously illegal and unconstitutional actions had some kind of moral basis. That is why this story is coming out now. The other thing that makes me really suspicious about it is that Donald Trump, first of all, the Russian tower deal with Russia was completely legal. There's nothing wrong with Trump building a tower in Russia. And Donald Trump Jr. Testified extensively about it to Congress. So I'm not even sure why Trump would be telling Michael Cohen to lie about it. I don't even know why he would be saying that. It seems like a pretty dubious thing to do. BuzzFeed is a dubious outlet. Cohen is a dubious mouthpiece. And the FBI has dubious reasons, federal investigators have dubious reasons to cover up for themselves. That doesn't mean the story is untrue, but I'm holding my water, and I wish the press would hold theirs and not be so desperate to bring down this president that they hate, that they give cover to an FBI that did the wrong thing. That is the important story as far as I'm concerned so far, and we'll see if this BuzzFeed story develops and what it means.